Lucky Lefty Podcast, Onora Boys in the building. We are brought to you by ONORA Whiskey. It is ONORAWhiskey.com. That premium American whiskey, ONORAWhiskey.com. And if you drink, by all means, make sure you do it responsibly. Let's get it. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Lucky Lefty Podcast. MALIK'S, ZAIRE, SHAUN Davis, ONORA Whiskey, ONORAWhiskey.com. Go there, get you a nice stocking stuffer for a loved one, a friend, business partner, employee, employer. Hook yourself up. It's the perfect way to celebrate a Notre Dame win. We know Marcus Freeman was probably in his office sipping on a little bit of that ONORA whiskey after
not too much, because he got something on the horizon now. He got the game of the year.
Yeah. 27-17 win. The Fighting Irish. They give up 2 late touchdowns for Indiana to make it look like it was better than it really was. And Malik was prophetic as always. He said it would be a Christmas song. He said it would be chestnuts roasting over an open fire, a slow cook of the Hoosiers. And that's exactly what it was on Friday night in Notre Dame Stadium. It was a humongous win, a historic win, the first ever college football playoff game at historic Notre Dame Stadium, the Battle of Indiana. The little brothers got sent back home to their rooms. Shut your mouths. But it was a costly win. And we'll discuss that coming up shortly. But first, Lev, how was your weekend? Are you done with your shopping? And because there was no need to watch football after the first quarter of most of these games this weekend.
Yeah, football was done watching after Notre Dame game on Friday night. These other games, I think it sounded better on paper, but I think the moment for some of these teams was too big, and it showed. And I think that it's good though to have that Christmas feel. I mean, you had NFL games on Netflix, you had the college football games rolling, basketball was going, so it became really a sports evening. But college football, I mean, obviously we're seeing how some of these feel-good picks like a SMU and some of these other schools are wasn't quite ready for that challenge, and I think it'll be better. And then, of course, you get the SEC complainers. Oh, Alabama woulda, coulda, shoulda. Oh, if we had South Carolina woulda, coulda, shoulda, it would have been. Yeah, but that's what the greatness of the regular season is you get chances to prove it. South Carolina should have beat Alabama when they had a chance. South Carolina should have beat these other teams when they had a chance. They wouldn't have to cry about wishing and shoulda, coulda. So,
Stick around. I have something to talk about.
That's right.
We don't talk about it towards the end of the show. You guys stick around because the SEC fans and the SEC coaches, Lane Kiffin, man, go shut up. Go, shut up. Shut up. Like, what are we? Man, look, SEC tried to be slick this summer. This is what they tried to do, ladies and gentlemen, for 2 days. And I was wondering why Jack Swarbrick didn't even go. Or didn't attend, not Jack Swarbrick, but like Notre Dame didn't attend the festivities. For 2 days this summer, the SEC and the Big Ten tried to swindle everybody into giving them 4 guaranteed slots.
Yeah.
Both of them. They tried to guarantee themselves 2/3 of the college football playoffs with that we're the best conferences revenue bull crap. I knew what they were doing. The truth of the matter is, once you get past the top 2 teams in most of these super conferences, the rest of the conference is real mid. And they know that. They know that. Because their third best team against the Big Ten's third best team or the second best team, got embarrassed. No, I guess that was the Big Ten's third best team because the two best teams played in the Big Ten championship. So, look, man, they tried to pull the wool over the rest of college football, and the only reason they did it is because the Pac-12 had devolved.
Yeah.
That's why they did it. And they tried to use that excuse to say, man, let's go use our revenue and our power and numbers to go ahead and dedicate 2/3 of the college football playoff to our conferences. And kudos to Notre Dame, the ACC, and the Big 12 telling them to kick rocks. Kudos. If we can stop falling for this fraud, the SEC, dude. 80 to 85% of your conference is mid or subpar. Alabama, elite. Georgia, elite. LSU, sometime. Texas hasn't proved a thing under Sark. They definitely haven't proved that they can beat the Alabamas and the Georgias. They haven't done it yet. Heck, they couldn't even beat the Pac-12 champion last year, and Michael Penix. Shout out to him in his first career NFL start yesterday.
That's right. Lefty looked good.
But they tried to pull the wool over your eyes. They tried to pull the wool over the eyes of the other conferences as the Pac-12 faded away. They tried to play the guilt and the revenue thing on the ACC and the Big 12 and Notre Dame. And kudos for those three factions saying, kick rocks. Earn it. Earn it. That's why all this talk, when you play in the SEC, you haven't played anybody. Dude, you're losing to terrible teams in your conference. Stop it. Stop it. If Alabama had showed up on Friday night in South Bend, they would have got smacked. Let's keep it a buck. It would have been a double-digit loss on top of the double-digit losses to the likes of Oklahoma and the likes of Tennessee that just got trounced up in Columbus. So what are we really talking about? And that SEC noise got real quiet at about 10 o'clock Central Time on Saturday night. The tweets were flowing all day. And then all of a sudden, after that game up there in Columbus, I'm sorry for all of those fans. Reportedly 20,000 Tennessee fans took the trip up to Columbus. I'm sorry you had to watch your team get taken out behind the shed like that. It's even more embarrassing that you let a Ryan Day team do that to you. But we're going to get to it, Left. We're going to break it down. I'm going to tell you why Notre Dame and Notre Dame fans need to stop raising their expectations when it comes to wide receivers and wide receiver recruiting. Let me explain it to you, Left.
Okay.
I'm going to explain it to you. It was clear as day to me because I'll tease it like this. The chase is different than it was 10 years ago. I'll leave it at that. The chase is different than it was 10 years ago. I'll explain that. But let's go ahead and recap. But before we get to the recap, Marcus Freeman just met with the media. Some heartbreaking news. Fifth-year senior, captain Rylie Mills is out for the rest of the season with a knee injury sustained in the third quarter against Indiana. Immediately after the game, when he met with the media, Marcus Freeman said, it looks like it's not season ending, and we're just going to have to do our best to get him ready in 10 days. And whatever news they got back from MRIs and everything, Marcus Freeman announced today that Rylie Mills will not be present. Now, Left, I'm going to be honest with you, bro. Losing Rylie Mills is bigger than losing Benjamin Morrison.
Yeah, I agree.
Because that
think
you don't want, yeah, that position is the position we lament as far as difference makers.
yeah, yeah,
No,
we need to be able to have a presence in the middle of the defense,
yeah, yeah. I don't
and it
see a Leonard
definitely
Moore. I don't see a Leonard Moore standing behind Riley Mills. You're already down Jason Onye for personal reasons. Gabriel Rubio struggled a little bit. He got pushed off the ball a little bit a couple of times on Saturday night, but I mean, he played hard. One of these, hey, now this is when Marcus Freeman's words come to pass. Marcus Freeman said, I have the best D interior scout team on the D line in the nation. Is that not what he said, Left? He says the best scout team D line on the interior that he's coached. That's the words of Marcus Freeman. If that's the case, one of them boys are going to have to show up moving forward. One of them boys have to show up. But Left, I go back to something you said way back in the summer, and it is so true. You said coaching and the strength and conditioning coaches would now be the two most important pieces of winning a championship, because now you have to run a gauntlet that you physically have never had to run. Everybody is having injuries. Texas lost a couple of offensive linemen. Ohio State is already struggling with injuries. They have some injuries possibly on the defensive side of the ball. No one escaped with a victory that doesn't have injuries to worry about going into the next matchup. And even Georgia, the next opponent Left, they're going with their backup quarterback. And ATN hasn't been right all year. Still dealing with the shoulder. We watched Clemson's entire rush offense be stagnated because of Phil Maffa not being able to go. So injuries are very important. The good news is Charles Jagasaw is available. Charles Jagasaw is available, which goes to, once again, Rocco Spindler. He gets injured. Doesn't play the second half. Pendleton comes in, the true freshman that had been struggling at left guard. He comes in at right guard. He had a few issues in the second half of that game. Charles Jagasaw, if needed, can he bump inside? Probably so. He probably can. But of course, that's going to bear itself out in practice. He's available. Kingston Villumoasa, he will be back in practice this week. Hopefully he'll be ready to go. Rocco Spindler will also be questionable back in practice. He'll be ready to go. Bodie Calhoun will also be back in practice with KK Smith. That's good to hear. But it's a tremendous loss, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Rylie Mills was making a ton of money over the last 5 to 6 weeks and doing work for Notre Dame. He was dominating in that game. Dominating. He was dominating to the point where they were putting 5 in the box at times against Indiana. 5 in the box, and he literally, mano a mano, defeated blocks and made the tackle. Indiana saw a light box and said, oh, it's 3rd and long. We're going to run this. And he would just defeat the block and make the play. That's the level of play you were getting from Rylie Mills. So it's no sugarcoating. No excuses. Next man up.
next man up.
1A, 1B, right? 1A, 1B, right?
I don't know, but you're absolutely right about the whole situation of him being a presence in that leadership. Yeah. And as great as the defense is, the middle of the defense is the most important. And for lesser experienced linebackers like your young guys, your Sneeds, your Bowens, your Alsberries, they need that pressure to be taken off the front of from the front four.
Yeah.
Missing a huge in the sense of depth and in the sense of impact. Maybe not the game changer of a player where he's just like wrecking games single handedly, but missing him is a missing piece. It's still a hole in what you're trying to do, especially against the team you're going against next week, where the trenches is everything.
Yeah.
And so you're gonna see a loss in that aspect. But then you got to see the rallying and the coaching around a guy who, may not have been the centerpiece, but he wasn't far from it. So, like you said, I think it is more impactful on a play-to-play basis than a Ben Morrison, obviously, because, they're on the outside and they may get a few opportunities. And with Georgia's situation, not having Carson Beck, they're going to turn and hand the ball off, at least in my opinion, more frequently, and depend on that being the setup and basis to all their other things. And so the middle of the defense being compromised in the sense of losing a guy like Rylie Mills, you expect something different. I think it's even more impactful than losing your Boubacar Traore and your Jordan Botelho.
Now, this will, in a sense, I think he impacts and he makes the guys that play next to him better because of the way he was playing left. And Howard Cross, who was just coming back from injury, they were working him in against Indiana. He'll probably get more snaps now against Georgia. But what Notre Dame does have, Notre Dame is a multiple defensive team. They're just not a 4-3 team, just not a 3-4 team. Sometimes they'll come out, man, they had Jalen Sneed on 3rd and long rushing on the inside next to Howard Cross in the second half. So this is what they do. They can morph into whatever defense they need based upon the assignment and the opponent. So now, will they go to more linebackers on the field? Because that depth on the interior has been impacted, or will they stay true to who they are and just move somebody up the ranks and give them more snaps, like a Armel Mukam? Man, this is your opportunity, young man. Go out there and play. It's going to be very interesting. And I can't wait to hear from Al Golden this week to see, how he's going to go ahead and deal with this devastating injury. Once again, fantastic win, 27-17 over Indiana on Friday night. But it came at an extremely high cost, in my opinion, with the loss of Rylie Mills for the rest of the season to a knee injury. GTB question left from my guy, John Massey. Put your GTB questions and your super chats in. We appreciate them all. We'll get right to them. Malik's, your thoughts on Rylie versus Georgia? The games where they struggled were against mobile quarterbacks, Alabama, Ole Miss, Georgia Tech. And what do you think of Georgia's new quarterback?
Thoughts on Rylie versus Georgia? I think this is where you put all of that good feeling stuff to the side and you be very objective about his performance in this game as it relates to the impact of the transfer on this team. And this goes to the crux of my thesis for this season of none of this matters to me about him coming in, playing well on a team that's already propositioned to play well under whoever was at the quarterback position. Mm-hmm. This is where you make sense to me in terms of the difference of where Rylie Leonard comes in and where we couldn't get to the next level with who we had before. So I do think this is a game where it's about what can Rylie do to help this team win, because in my opinion, I think that's what it's going to take to be over the hump. In games of high magnitude and significance, we've seen us go to the run game. We've seen us depend on other parts of our offense to win us the football games, even dating back to 2012 in the championship. We didn't depend on Ev and Tommy to the end. The whole time we trying to run the ball like Alabama was running the ball. We wasn't trying to go down there and be aggressive. So in order to be aggressive, in my opinion, you have to throw the football and take chances and push the ball downfield. That was the difference between Alabama and Georgia with Jalen Milroe, who I think is awful at throwing the football. He took 2 or 3 chances down the field to Ryan Williams, a playmaker, and that happened to be the difference. So I do believe that regardless of how well we can run the football and probably will run the football, this is going to come down to can Rylie make 3 or 4 throws that's needed to put us over the edge or get us that first down or close the game out or go get a score before half or maybe even get a score before the end of the game. So this is the culmination of everything that I've talked about this season, leading up to Rylie being impactful to Notre Dame. And this is where we put the money where the mouth is. I think that as much as we're going to, and hopefully run the ball more with Jeremiah Love, put him in better position, Rylie Leonard is going to have to throw eventually. I think if anything, I'm not going to disrespect Georgia's significance on how they feel about stopping the run. I'm not going to downplay it. I'm not going to act like they live and start everything and base everything from a personality of a team based off of stopping the run. So I'm not saying we're going to go in there and run on them like an army where they may have statistically the best run defense and play the numbers games. I'm just telling you from a personality and an ego and an understanding of who they are as a team, they're priding themselves on making sure we don't run the football. I'm just letting people know. Regardless of scheme, strategy, the between the lines, all of that, they're going to say we will die before we let Notre Dame just run around, especially with 13. So in that part of my mind, that's what Kirby's basing his whole week off of. You know he's good at these speeches. You know he's good at building up the enemy for his team. And you know that Jeremiah is the big bad boogeyman. That run game and that offensive line is what everybody's saying that Georgia can't do. Now, I think it's a little offensive that they have them 2 and us 7, because I don't think there's 6 teams better than us the way we've been playing. However, they're going to look at it as college football is riding on us smacking Notre Dame back down because they're at the breaking point. They're at the breaking point where everybody has to give them respect moving forward. Everybody can't sit there and make them the laughing stock. If they beat the face of college football, which is Georgia, in a moment like this, with Georgia being who they are and Notre Dame trying to become the next big dog in the sport from a player standpoint and a program standpoint, not a fan standpoint, from the respect of how people give Ohio State and Alabama and Georgia, they're gonna have to put us in there. So this is what I'm so excited for. This is another game, another opportunity for Marcus Freeman to change the perspective of the program, of what Notre Dame means to recruits in the college football landscape, that we can recruit as well. And we got the same things these other schools got. I believe they fixed this game for us to literally be matched against Georgia, and there was no avoiding it because they need the house to win. Notre Dame's not the house. We're playing against the house. Because if we win the way we want to win, through the way we want to win, with the guy that we got as the face of the program, we telling people what to do at this year. In college football world, the SEC world, they can't stand all that. Y'all need to join a conference. We'll go mute. All that y'all trying to do things differently. I need to band up with everybody else. We'll go mute. Don't let us win it this year. Not the first one ever. You already know we love to try to make history and be the first to do some things. Don't let us be the first to win the first ever college football playoff in the first year. Don't let us do it. Not with the team we got this year. Because, we will ride that for another 88 years like we've been riding the last. That's what I'm saying. We will make everybody else winning this year insecure. We will say we were first. We will sell merch talking about we were the first champions in the play. I'm telling you, college football don't want that. They would hate to etch our names in the history books of the first ones to do
it. In the first slot.
The non-begging, they took the bad deal as only getting the 5th seed possible, and they won the first year. Oh, no. That's what we're licking our chops at. Don't let us do it. Don't let us do it. So they had to put the house against us because they want the big bad boogeyman on the other side to play well as well. They telling Kirby, look, Kirby, you are best man for the job. We couldn't fix it any other way. We don't believe Texas can get it done. We said we're gonna shortcut this whole thing and put y'all in the second round. Because realistically, how does it even match up that way? How does a 9-3 team become the number 2 team in a 12-team playoffs? Doesn't make sense. So, Rylie, this is the weight of the game, and the shoulders should be on you. Don't put it on nobody else. This is the game you want as a guy that's playing quarterback at the University of Notre Dame, where all the pressure and the trajectory and the history of the team is on your shoulders. You will be, how they talk about the 4 horsemen. They would literally talk about you being the program-changing guy, the dude, the one, the LeBron James. Because this is what it's about. Because think about how far we will fall from the optics of college football standards in the world and Marcus Freeman if we lay an egg on Saturday. If we lay an egg, they could be like, same old Notre Dame. You know how that would affect us and push us back about 4 or 5 years. Even if we play it close, in my opinion. Because we played
Thursday. It's New Year's Day.
We played everybody close. We've played everybody you can play close. We've done that. It's about winning and losing, cut and dry. So I do believe his impact is going to be the biggest, and it should be the biggest. And now, obviously, Georgia has trouble with some mobile guys, and Rylie is definitely not afraid to run. But I just don't believe that Kirby is going to game plan to not stop the run. He's going to see that Georgia Tech game. He's going to watch us and be after last week and be like, listen, I don't care what I have to do. We will force Rylie to have 300 yards passing if that's what we need to do. And that's the challenge that I think is going to be presented. And can we do it?
As he should. You darn right. I would put 12 in the box if I could. It's illegal. But it goes back to what you said, Left. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. You have been prophetic this season. From the moment Rylie Leonard got on campus, people can try to push back. They can try to label you whatever they want to label you as. You said at some point he's gonna have to earn that $2 million or whatever check he got, and it won't be during the regular season. The defense is not going to be as good, especially up front, as it has been. So guess what that means? Offense is going to have to step it up. It's going to be team football that wins moving forward. Offense is going to have to step it up. 201 yards on Saturday night from Rylie Leonard. We said if he got 150, Notre Dame will be just fine. 201 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. That's what you get. If Rylie Leonard is throwing for 200 yards, Notre Dame is winning the game. They're winning the game. They're winning the game. Plain and simple. If he throws for 200 against Georgia, they're winning the game. Take that interception away, though. Give it to me without the interception and the turnover. I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine with it. Super chat. ND 559 Louis. Thank you for the super chat at SD2 Mics and MALIK'S ZAIRE 8. That's all I needed to hear from you. Both keeping it a buck. Let's get this, Pops. pups become some real savages indeed. Louis, we appreciate you. Had another one. When you guys do a call in live on YouTube again, I was in line. No, I was on 2 years ago. We're looking forward to it, saving it for the off season so we can fully develop it and do it right. We want to do it right. GTB, super chats, put them in. We'll get to them immediately. All right, Left, it's time for your post-snap read. Brought to you by ONORA Whiskey from MALIK'S ZAIRE. What did you see from the Notre Dame offense?
You just saw a calm approach to being, I wouldn't say conservative, but being more methodical, going to what we do best and having some nuances off of it. I thought we built great momentum of adding the run and the pass towards the red zone where we went straight to our playmakers and didn't reinvent the wheel when it came to short distances and overthinking short yardage plays. I love to see the impact of our slot guys and how the impact of our bigger receivers made a difference. Slot guys made the tough in-between catches for yards that were in front of the first down and got to the first down with Faison a couple times. And then I love the way the offense flowed. So I love the way, okay, we've been gashing them in the run. They're going to load the box. We got a play queued up for it, and we executed. Jordan Faison backside post when they playing man. They got everybody trying to stop the run. We RPO, throw the post, great play, right? So when it seemed like it went exactly how Denbrock planned it, and we stayed effective without having Rylie play up beyond his talent. And it's still funny to watch Jeremiah Love do something like a 98-yard touchdown and then not see him for 2 drives.
Oh, just his father did tweet out that he was battling. If you listen to him in the post game, you can hear it in his voice. And you'll be able to hear it because we're going to hear from Jeremiah Love later in the show. He had flu symptoms he was dealing with as well.
He got the Michael Jordan flu game, but still, it's like, just it's funny. I know he was doing, but it's like that's what we can do. Even if that wasn't the intention, we can run a 98-yard Jeremiah Love and then go in there and put Jadarian and go in there and put Nias and not skip a beat. That's without having to be like, okay, Jeremiah Love, we need you to turn up. We got guys that can get the same amount of production in different ways. So I think what you're seeing is a lot for another team to handle because we haven't even talked defense, and we were just wearing on IU throughout the game. I would like us to be a little bit more explosive on the scoreboard, considering the weather will be better next week. But in terms of now, it's funny because IU, like I agree with Coach Sinetti said about his own team. He said on offense we couldn't do anything. We couldn't do anything. You can run, can throw.
He was very apologetic. And Don King, like on the Big Ten coverage, Big Ten, they had their big show. They were down there. Howard Griffith was down there with Jake Butts. And he did an on-field interview with them after the game. And he was like, man, I kind of regret some of the things I said leading up to the game. He was admitting he was trying to build it up on some Don King stuff. Yeah, he didn't say that at the post-game, right after the game for the NCAA and the college football playoff. But, when he was with the Big Ten Network, he was very apologetic. Kind of like, yeah, I kind of regret some of the things I said leading up to the game. But, the truth of the matter is they just kicked our butts. He was like, a 70-year-old man just got his butt kicked. And so I was like, man, that's real spit. I can't even, yeah. He tried to Don King it, make it bigger. And maybe I think he felt like, because the film doesn't lie, Left. Like you've been in that room as a coach, right? Where you're coming out in the field and you're coaching your team, your high schoolers, to win the game. But then you and the coaches are going back to the film room and you're looking at the film like, this might be a tough one. And I think he said it. I can't remember the book where he pinpointed it, but he said there was a time in the first half where he recognized like they're bigger, they're stronger, and they're faster. And we haven't seen this and we haven't practiced against it. So it's harder to tackle and it's harder to block when they're bigger, stronger, and faster. I was like, yo, that's real talk. That's real talk. So kudos to Indiana. Really good season. I'm happy that Indiana fans have something to cheer about because your basketball team stinks once again. They stinketh. And they're probably going to be in the NIT. And there's nothing else to really hold on to down there in Bloomington. So it's all over, courtesy of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. John Massey with another one. We getting that Christmas bonus tonight left. Spencer Rattler, Zach Levine parlay. Zach Levine had a nice game against the Celtics. He put up 38, and then predictably, the next time the Celtics faced him on Saturday night with Meg the Stallion in the building, the Celtics embarrassed Zach Levine and he disappeared. So Spencer Rattler and Zach Levine, that's a dang because Spencer Rattler plays New Orleans plays who they play tonight? It's a playoff team, right? It's a pretty important game for their opponent. Trying to see who they play tonight. Ladies and gents, put it in the chat. Yes, they play the Pack. They play the Pack. And the Pack, they don't have a chance to win the division. That's going to come down to that last game, probably between the Lions and the Vikings the last week. Great scheduling by the NFL, by the way. And then Packers probably handle business tonight. They probably handle business. All right, GTB questions, super chats, get them in. That was Malik's post-snap read right here at Lucky Lefty Podcast. Any other takeaways before we hear from the coaches and the players about this game left? Any other takeaways other than Xavier Watts is I'm really trying to be respectful because my fandom for Notre Dame runs deep. At minimum, he's top 5 greatest defensive players I've ever seen don the gold helmet. Top 5 at minimum. And I don't think he's 4 or 5. He's definitely one of my top 3 favorite defensive players ever to don the gold helmet. But yeah, the dude is good. Drake Bowen had a fantastic night. As far as, dude, this kid, man, is so good. And I remember saying this, and people fought back because you had a lot of J.D. Bertrand fans. Shout out to Maris Leofow, who's continuing. He's literally a better pro player for the Cowboys than he was a college player for Notre Dame. And it's really enjoyable to watch. It really is. He is surprising the heck, he's surprising the heck out of NFL people. He's surprising the heck out of me. I'm sure he's surprising a lot of Notre Dame fans. Kudos to Maris on the season, the rookie season he's having. But I flat out told people after 2 practices last year that the 2 most instinctive linebackers in the linebacker room were Drake Bowen and Jaden Osbury. I said it's not even close. Just see it and go. They are the 2 most natural linebackers. And it is crazy how this continues to play out. Just go back and watch the game. Drake is just diagnosing plays and just downhill. And he's so good at it. It looks like a run blitz. And it's not a run blitz. It's just literally him. Man, he's seeing the formation. He's calling out to his teammates what's about to happen. And then he is just taking off downhill and hitting the right gap and making the play or influencing the play. And that's something else now. How will Jack Kaiser and Drake Bowen be impacted by the Rylie Mills? Because Rylie Mills protects them in a lot of ways. He gives them the comfort level to be able to diagnose and flow immediately downhill. That's why this injury is huge. It's big time left, because we have to watch and see how this is going to impact Notre Dame's defense, especially early on against Frazier and ATN in that run game of Georgia, whose Georgia's offensive line has been in shambles all year. One time we thought this kid would be a Notre Dame commit in the class. They've had to move Monroe Freeland from right tackle over to left tackle, as they've done a shuffle of sorts throughout the season to find the right combination. So, man, we lament. We had another 9-10 days to lament. But Al Golden, I trust Al Golden will come up with something. I trust that he will come up with something. Leonard Moore, once again, I don't know what in the world teams see on film to say, you know what, we're going to go after 15. We're going to keep going after 15. What? What are you seeing? Because I don't see it. I watched the film. I watched the TV copy. I don't see what they see. But let them continue to go after. For people that relax, man. Surratt made an incredible catch on Christian Gray. Outside of that play, until that last play in the fourth quarter, the touchdown, Christian Gray played really good. And shout out to Al Golden taking responsibility for the anomaly that was that USC game. And we'll hear from him talking about that coming up. Anthony Elliott, thank you for the super sticker. We appreciate you. Put your GTP questions and your super chats in. We'll get to them immediately. But Left broke down the offense. Defensively, once again, the numbers, the multiple defenses. Al Golden willing to play with a light box and just forcing Curtis Rourke to go ahead and make the check. Like, what do you do? It's 3rd and 9. You're checking to a run just because it's a light box? That just speaks to the trust and the speed of this defense, that he feels like, first of all, we're going to whip you up front. And then our linebackers can get off blocks, make plays, and then our defenders on the backside can come up and make plays. Adon Schuler. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to give credit for Xavier Watts outside of what he's done on his own. But let me tell you something. The ascension of Adon Schuler has allowed Xavier Watts to become the type of player that's making plays in the backfield, in the middle of the field. He came from his safety position. It would have probably been an interception by Leonard Moore down that right sideline. And just out of nowhere, just shot out of a cannon, he just comes with the PBU. I mean, this defense, man, is just really fun to watch. Really fun to watch. And the shame of it is you lose Xavier Watts, right? But now I'm super excited to see where Adon Schuler is about to take his game. I'm super excited to see, man, what is the next stage for Leonard Moore? If he's playing at this level, what in the world is next? What are we going to see next? If Christian Gray is playing like this in his first year starting, what is he going to look like next year? And then what are the guys coming behind them? What are they going to look like? Because we know Mike Mickens is in the lab. We know he's in the lab. What does Carson Hobbs look like next year? What does he look like? What does Tay look like? Man. So for all you Notre Dame fans that were warning us not to look forward, can we look forward to Georgia now? Is it okay? Because we kind of knew this was coming. We knew this was coming. So is it okay for us to talk about Georgia now? Is it okay? We'll get to that later on in the show. Notre Dame wins 27-17 over Indiana. First CFP 12-team playoff game. Historical, great night. Shout out to the Notre Dame fans. The noise, the atmosphere, everyone that was there testifies to how electric it was, testifies to how it impacted Indiana, especially early. I think it played a major part, along with the defense and Al Golden and what he schemed up to have Curtis O'Rourke just out of sorts all night long. All night long. But Marcus Freeman, he talked about it. And this is what he had to say as he opened up the press conference with the media immediately after the game. This is what your head coach had to say.
Night, right, and about what this team did to, achieve the outcome that we all desired. And so I want them to celebrate that. I want them not to look past tonight. Celebrate tonight. Celebrate this victory that they worked tremendously hard to achieve and obtain. And then I told them they'll have tomorrow off. They can take one day off, and we'll get them back on Sunday. But then we'll start thinking about the Sugar Bowl and the opportunity we have at hand. But you don't get enough time in life and enough time in situations like this not to enjoy it. And I was reminded by that by a couple people I talked to, but also just talking to the team. Enjoy this. Enjoy this. Don't look ahead. Enjoy this, and then we'll move forward. But proud of the way they played. I told Coach Cignetti after the game, I think that's a heck of a football team we faced that obviously showed wouldn't quit till the end. Some good teaching opportunities for us. We're going to use that fourth quarter defensively, special teams wise. We got to learn from some of those situations that happened in that game because we have to be better because of it. And I'm actually kind of glad it did happen, because it's going to be a chance for us to humble ourselves and get back to work and work on ways to improve as we get ready for this next opportunity. So.
Do you guys agree with Marcus Freeman? Let us know in the chat. Are you happy with the way the game ended? Do you think eventually it's going to be beneficial for Notre Dame and give them things to work on as they head into Georgia? Let us know in the chat. Lucky Lefty Podcast. Anthony Elliott, thank you for the super chat. Am I tripping, or is Christian Gray in his own head as of late and not trusting his skill set and coverage seem to be grabbing receivers more? No, Anthony, that's something I think Lefty talked about it. It's just a habit that he has. He's been doing it since the beginning of the year. He did the same thing the very first series against Texas A&M. So it's not something as of late. It's just him. It's what he does. He just reaches for the shoulder pad, and it's something that he has to work to get out of. Something he has to work to get out of. But what are we really talking about? Because there's no question that the kid, literally the great catch that Surratt made, Christian Gray's hand is right here in between his arms. The ball goes right. He has great coverage. He's in position. He puts his arm in really good position to break up the pass, and the ball skims the top of his arm. And Surratt ends up catching it in between his legs as he falls to the ground. What do you want? What do you want Christian Gray to do? Literally, from a technical standpoint, there is nothing he can do on that play. There's nothing better he can do other than maybe lift his arm up another inch to knock it away. That's it. If you want to say he can turn around earlier, just nitpicking, which I know Mike Mickens is going to do with him, say, yo, if you do this, this doesn't happen. But yeah, that's just a darn good play by Surratt. Darn good play. And then the back shoulder, Curtis Connor, that's what they do. Curtis Rourke. I keep saying Connor. Curtis Rourke. I apologize for saying the wrong name, Curtis Rourke, all year. They've been throwing the back shoulder fade more efficiently than any other offense. And late in the game, they just threw a perfect back shoulder. If it wasn't thrown that way, Christian Gray is in position to pick that ball off. But it was a perfect back shoulder throw. It really was, and the receiver made the catch. You know, other than that, and this is what I'm saying, sometimes we can fret too much. You take those two plays away in the course of a 60-minute game, how did Christian Gray play? Did you hear his name? And once again, think about it. When teams watch film, I just asked the question, why do teams keep throwing at Leonard more? Obviously, when these teams watch film, they say to themselves, we would much rather go at that kid than to go at Christian Gray. That's the only thing I can surmise from teams continuing to go after Leonard Moore and coming up short. Teams continue to watch film and say, yo, honestly, we much rather throw the ball against that kid and make him make plays rather than go up against Christian Gray. I think Christian Gray had 3 balls thrown his way. It was either 3 or 4. And the Georgia receivers, they were leading the nation in drops. They don't have a lot of speed. Arian Smith is the only true deep threat. And he's one of the worst culprits when it comes to dropping the football. So, and we're going to see. We're going to see. But I don't fret over Christian Gray. Like I said it on the post-game show over in IB. It's not like he's getting burnt. And he's not right there in coverage. He probably needs to clean up some nitpicking things, technically. Like getting his head around and doing other things, and he'll be fine, man. But once again, first year starter. First year as a starter. You know, Benjamin Morrison went through a little lull in his second year. I'm sure Leonard Moore is going to go through something in his second year. Heck, it was just last year Notre Dame fans were complaining about Benjamin Moore after the Clemson game because Bo Collins was making plays on him in the Clemson game. People were like, what's wrong with Benjamin Morrison? Nothing. It's football, man. It's life. Sometimes people are going to make plays. They're going to make plays. You go back to the huddle and do your thing. Lucky Lefty podcast. So that was Marcus Freeman talking about the game, and I agree. You know, some things to work on. And you'll hear from Al Golden. Al Golden wasn't happy, but he took the blame for the way the game ended defensively. D-Rock Irish. This is kind of good. Georgia show last night said the tight ends and running backs with the backup quarterback would need to be used a lot in this upcoming game. Yeah. I firmly agree with that. Lefty, what's your thoughts on what Coach Freeman had to say? I must have stepped away. This is Coach Free on that big run that got Notre Dame off the snide and gave them the 7-zip lead from Jeremiah Love, 98 yards. Electric.
0 at that time. I think it was 0-0. Just to an interception. We get an interception on defense, and that first play to go 98 yards was huge. Just for everybody. Yes, our offense, but the overall confidence of our team to go up 7-0 with that type of touchdown. We know he's not 100%. We're just going to keep getting him healthy, but he showed on that play at whatever percent he is. Once he breaks through that third level, it's hard to catch Jeremiah Love.
You mentioned the interception, Xavier Watts. Just how good was he tonight and kind of setting the tone for the defense?
Yeah, he was major. I mean, he had made some big-time tackles, tracked the ball carrier well, was close to getting a couple balls out, had the interception. I mean, he's a leader out there. He gets everybody lined up. He communicates. He plays the game you need him to play. Plays the game the way you need him to play. He is a huge part of what we're trying to do and a very important piece.
Front row on your right, John Bryce. Hey, Marcus, along those similar lines, you've talked often about complementary football, and that first sequence was about as complementary as it gets. Just how do you assess the way that this team has absorbed all the challenges to have the identity that you want from them?
Yeah, you had a lot of good from all three phases tonight, and you've seen that throughout the season. No one phase was perfect, and that's what we strive for is perfection. No one phase was perfect, but what happens was when one phase isn't getting the job done, another phase picks it up. And we'll need that as we continue to move throughout these playoffs. And so, that's what it's going to take to achieve the goals that we aspire to have.
This team, once again, man, this has just been one of those seasons from Northern Illinois to the loss of Traore and Botello against Purdue, to the loss of Howard Cross in the middle of the season, to the loss of other players, Ashton Craig, Charles Jagsaw in the fall. This team has had to answer the bell time and time again. Time and time again. And once again, here they are after a great victory and a big win. Life hits them once again with the loss of their captain, Rylie Mills. And so I expect this team to rise up once again and have a great performance against Georgia. And then the scoreboard at the end of the game is going to let us know what the deal is. But preparation with the coaches, I think Al Golden and his experience along with Mike Denbrock paid huge dividends against Indiana. When you look at that staff, they came out and they coached very tentatively. They were very tentative the way they approached the game. They weren't aggressive. And their lack of experience for the moment, and moments like that, which we tell people all the time, moments at Notre Dame are all the time. You're always getting the other team's best shot, or you're always in a big game. So you're used to the moments. You're used to the moments. And even though that was a special moment, that was an elevated moment, you saw that Notre Dame was prepared. Marcus Freeman said we were going to be us and be aggressive from the jump. We determined that during our preparation. Both sides of the ball, we're going to be aggressive from the jump and play our game. And that's exactly what they did. Lucky Lefty podcast. Coach Freeman then talked about the receivers, and he talked about the receivers being underrated because people look at stats and they underrate not only what the receivers mean to this offense, but what they mean to this team.
I often tell you that stats sometimes do not tell you the impact somebody makes on a game. And the wide receiver position is one that is so important to understand that he can grade out 100% and have one catch. And perception is he maybe had one catch, but the reality is he did exactly what he was supposed to do on every single play. Today he was rewarded, obviously, and targeted intentionally in certain situations, and he made some big-time contested catches. He is a weapon for us. We obviously used him on the kickoff return, reverse, and we had a little bit of doubt saying, okay, there might be a guy that can see it. Nope, the guy saw it, but we had a lot of faith that Faison could make a miss, and that's what he ended up doing.
Front row on your right, Pete Sampson.
After struggling defensively at USC, what were the biggest keys for that unit to sort of snap back to form tonight, and how much was Howard Cross a part of it?
Yeah, Howard's a huge piece. I've said this before. I believe you have to be strong up the middle, and to have Howard and Rylie in there, really being disruptive up the middle was huge for us. We knew going into the game we were going to have to control the perimeter. They were a perimeter running team with some stretch plays, some screens, and our mindset controlling the perimeter was attacking and having all three levels defeat blocks in the perimeter. And then we wanted to be aggressive. We had an aggressive mindset. We called the game aggressively. They played aggressively. And it was good to see our guys on defense play well today for the majority of the game.
I agree, man. I agree. And I'll just let Marcus Freeman's words Left had to take a phone call right quick, but I'll let Marcus Freeman's words sit there, marinate. Straight to the point. It is what it is. This is a offensive line, defensive line, trenches driven program. Because I'm going to get to this. Notre Dame fans, we need to lower our expectations when it comes to, I know we get jealous. I get jealous. And Notre Dame fans try to come at me. Because every time I watch Ohio State and I watch that number 4, I said, man, I want one of those. I don't know about you. It's Christmas time. But my best friend, LJ, staying next door to me, man, he would always get the top of the line stuff. I remember he used to get we both would get the G.I. Joe figures, action figures, but he would mess around and get the entire G.I. Joe city or get the entire G.I. Joe battleship. He would just get the extra stuff that was hard to find. I don't know how his dad did it back then, but his dad would always find the top of the line stuff. The easy stuff my dad would get. The easy stuff you could go to Toys R Us and get, man, my dad would grab that. But my boy would always come up with the one-of-ones, the exclusive joints. Where'd you get that from? Did your pops fly to New York? Where did he get that from? Did he go to the manufacturer's factory? He would always find that stuff. And, Marcus Freeman is right. I would love to have a Jeremiah Smith on this team. Love. Are you kidding me? Woo, just throw it up. Somebody just throw it up. Either he's going to run under it or out-jump the guy and take it from him. But we don't need that to win. We don't need that to win. But I sure would like it. Because my Christmas was still rocking. It was still lit. It was lit with what I had. I would have loved to have the Destroyer or the Battleship and everything that came with the G.I. Joe set. But I was cool with the figures. I was cool with Duke, Snake Eyes, and all the characters. I was cool having I can make up my own story. I can have my own pretend battleship. I can make it happen. Create my own storyline. And so when Marcus Freeman talks about with the way and the culture of this team, you know what? Yeah, we can get stuck on numbers. We can get stuck on numbers. But in order for us to win the way we have designed this program, this is what wide receivers need to do. Now we do need the wide receivers to catch the ball.
We do.
Yeah, to catch the ball. That's your first priority as a receiver, right, Left? Catch the ball.
Catch the ball, man.
Catch the ball. Get open, catch the ball. I'm going to need you to do that. But other than that, I agree wholeheartedly. Marcus Freeman, man, let's not overrate this. All right? And so everybody, something else prophetic that we said, Left, that's bearing out. What do we say? We said if a certain player is the best receiver on your team, you got a receiver problem. Did we not say that? Did we not say that? And everybody was like, oh, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it does matter. It does matter. Just like it mattered that Tyler Buckner was the best quarterback in the room. We had a problem. I hope Jordan Faison goes off for another 8 catches and 93 yards and touchdown, or multiple touchdowns against Georgia. But we're looking at this big picture. What does that say about the totality of the wide receiver room? It's a problem. Reports out there today, though, that good news might be coming because according to multiple sites, we kind of knew this. We really couldn't say anything. But according to multiple sites, it just broke. Notre Dame, it's a good shot that Notre Dame is going to add Malachi Fields, wide receiver transfer from Virginia, to the team in the transfer portal. They're in good position to add him. Big kid, 6'4", 6'5", 210, deep threat. He made a couple of catches against Notre Dame in that game and was dragging a few guys. He's hard to bring down. So that's some news on that front. Looking forward to next year. But that's Marcus Freeman. What's your thoughts on that wide receiver position? And, I was going to save this, but I can bring it up now, and then we'll get to Al Golden and Mike Denbrock. Any thoughts on the offense and the wide receivers and what you need to see from them against Georgia, Left?
We just need to see them make an impact, man. And a lot of that comes from having the attitude. I think we need to have the attitude. Me and the dominant players that we show on the scoreboard and that we show in that running back room. That just needs to be apparent. Georgia's secondary is porous enough for us to be able to get open. We just got to be able to make the throws and catch the football. Rylie Leonard, when he gets a chance to put it in a good spot, guys just got to come down for it. And I think these moments are what our receivers are built for. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Lucky Lefty podcast. So, Left, I'll bring this up. I was going to say, since we're talking about the wide receiver position right now, this is what people are chasing. Left, chime in. 10 years ago, people had to beat Alabama. In order to beat Alabama, what did you need, Left? You needed a dynamic quarterback, a dual threat quarterback. Because you were not going to hold Alabama down, you had to outscore Alabama. Am I on the right train right now, Left? Am I on the right track? I thought so. You have to outscore Alabama. This was the chase of Nick Saban and Alabama. We got to outscore them. Hold them down a little bit, but outscore them. So you go out and you get SHAUN. You go out and you get Kyler Murray. You go out and you get all of these dual threat quarterbacks. That was the move because everybody was chasing Alabama. Things have changed in recruiting with NIL, with cutting scholarships, and the transfer portal. Alabama, Georgia, and those top teams can no longer stack the way they used to stack, which kept talent from being spread around college football. Now the talent is spread around college football. How does this impact Notre Dame? The chase is on, but Notre Dame does not have an Alabama to chase. There is no longer a standard to chase. That's great for Notre Dame. They don't have that huge giant to chase. They don't have that coach, that culture to chase like Dabo and Clemson had. They had to climb. That was a big mountain. And in order to climb that big mountain, they needed SHAUN. They needed a Trevor. There's no way you can make it without those. They needed Mike Williams. They needed D-Hop. He eventually left before SHAUN got there, but he needed those type of guys in the receiving corps to eventually beat Alabama. And they got it done. They also created a culture on the defensive line that was crazy. Their linebackers, you go look at their linebackers when they beat Alabama. That line, Skowski, is Skowski even in the NFL? Their linebacker athleticism wasn't that great. They were extremely smart. They were leaders, but they made it happen in that front four and in the defensive backfield defensively, just to make sure that they could hold Alabama down and then give their dynamic quarterbacks and receivers and weapons the opportunity to win the game. That was the chase. That was the chase. And then Dabo had he had the coach on the same level with Nick. That was the chase. What's the chase now for Notre Dame? Notre Dame, you don't need the dynamic quarterback anymore. Everybody would love to have Shedeur, Cam Ward, and the top quarterbacks, but you don't need that. And I think Marcus Freeman knows that. I think he knows that, Left. You don't need that guy anymore. The chase is different. The field is more even now. Everything is spread out. The talent is more spread out than it was 10 years ago. So now the chase is different. This is how it impacts Notre Dame recruiting. And this is why when I heard that from Marcus Freeman, I said, because I don't know if this is an adjustment Notre Dame needs to make. I would literally, moving forward, rather have a wide receiver room that looks like SMU's with 4 or 5 electric run after the catch guys that might not be high-level 5-star, high-level 4-star guys, but you put them on the football field, and gosh dog it, they fast as hell, they quick as hell, and they dangerous. Go get me 4 or 5 of those dudes in the wide receiver room instead of striking out on guys that just have stars that haven't really proven anything. So you're on the clock because that's the same thing that set Notre Dame up to now go after the top defensive backs now that there is going to be a resume of Xavier Watts, of Cal Hamilton, of Cam Hart, of Benjamin Morrison, of Leonard Moore. Now the top defensive backs, those top 5 and 4 stars are going to be looking at Notre Dame. Why? Because I can get to the NFL and play early at Notre Dame. There is no track record for that at Notre Dame. So now Notre Dame has to go get some guys that nobody else. They have to go find a Benjamin Morrison that's not as highly recruited or thought of. They got to develop him, and they have to build a road. They have to build a road to the NFL so they can make enough money and build up enough recruiting currency to build that road of the top recruits to South Bend. That's the way it's got to happen. So that's the challenge to Mike Brown. So I'm not so much looking for Mike Brown to go out and get 2 top 100 wide receivers, 6'3", 6'4". I'm not looking for that. If you need to go get Malachi Fields, hopefully they can land him to be that big-time guy on the outside, the big physical receiver. Man, go get you. First of all, develop Cam Williams, develop Micah Gilbert, continue to develop Jordan Faison, develop Dylan Faison when you get him. KK Smith, develop. Get some playmakers out of these guys on the roster. And then go get some more playmakers. Go find some jewels like Mike Mickens did. Go find them. Go find them, get them ready, play them early, develop them, get them to the NFL, and eventually in another 2 years, now, maybe we get our Julio Jones. Maybe Julio Jones and what he was to Alabama and what he opened for Alabama as far as wide receivers is totally different because Jeremiah Smith is a result of all the past wide receivers that came before him. Period. But this pipe dream, that the fact that Notre Dame fans think, like, why aren't we getting 5-star receivers based upon what? Based upon what? Give me the reasons why a 5-star receiver would come to Notre Dame. Give me the reason. If you give me 3 good reasons why a 5-star receiver should come to Notre Dame, I don't want to hear about 4 for 40. Give me on the field development, NFL reasons. Give me 3 good reasons why a top 50 5-star wide receiver should come to Notre Dame right now. If you can give me that, I'll rock with it. But you have to build it first. If you build it, they will come. Money is not, Notre Dame's not passing out money like that. They have it, but they're not passing out money like that. So now that falls to the wayside. That falls to the wayside. This is what I'm saying. Wide receiver talent is all over the place. Now, the chase is different. The chase in recruiting is not about the top guys. The chase in recruiting is let's go find the uber talented kids that might be outside of the 250, but they're a 4-star. And they're fast as hell. And they're talented as hell. They're quick as hell. They're great route runners. We can get these guys in, and they can make an impact early. That's the chase for Notre Dame now. That's the chase. Because they went after the big guys. They went after the big guys last year in the 25 class. They went after for Nuke. He went to USC. Meadows. He went elsewhere. They went after the guys. They had Sean Terry. He left the class. They went after the big guys. No. And right now, let's keep it a buck. Elijah Burris. I love Elijah Burris. When they first got Elijah Burris, I did a show with my boy Double R, and Double R wasn't as high on him. And the only reason Double R wasn't high on him is because of the production. The production was down. Had no problem with that. Rock with that. Need to see production. Same reason why everybody was super high on Derek Meadows. And I'm like, the same thing applies. He hasn't done anything. He doesn't have any numbers. Where are the numbers? Elijah Burrs comes back his senior year. Massacre. Against top level competition. Massacre. Massacre. I need to see him on the field. I need to see him playing. This is my issue. This is my issue. And Left, this is where I want you to really chime in. This is my issue. We see the development and opportunity to play early at defensive back. Can we really be honest and say that someone sees that opportunity at wide receiver? Can we really say that? We're going to develop you. We're going to give you a chance to go out there and play. Where? We haven't seen Cam Williams. He's been dealing with hamstring injuries throughout the spring. We haven't seen him. Micah Gilbert got in a few times. Micah Gilbert needs to catch the ball, though. He had a touchdown against Purdue in his hands. You get that opportunity, you got to catch the ball. But, ladies and gentlemen, the chase is different now, man. It's just different. And I think we need, especially as Notre Dame fans, we need to adjust how we look at wide receiver recruiting. Because Georgia's wide receivers they're not that pretty. But yet and still, they continue to win games. And even when they were winning championships, Georgia doesn't have any speed at wide receiver. How are they winning? How are they winning? Because they're an O-line, D-line driven program. It's not about the quarterback. It's not about every now and then Georgia will have one 5-star, right? The Georgia wide receivers, dude, this is going to Georgia. If I were Taylor, I'll give you a perfect example. Taylor will probably go to Georgia, win a championship, go to Georgia, win a championship, and then transfer and get tons of money in the NIL. We've seen 2 or 3 receivers do that. Go to Georgia, win a championship, transfer for the money to Alabama or Texas, get to the NFL, hustle. Absolutely hustle. And that's it. That's it. That's why I said the game has changed, man. The chase has changed. And for Notre Dame, when you have young wide receivers recognizing the hustle, recognizing, let me go here, win, let me go here, transfer, get to the NIL bag, right? Now you have high schoolers thinking the same way that college guys are thinking when they walk across that stage at the NFL draft. I got to get to the second contract. High schoolers are thinking the same thing. I got to get to that second contract. Okay, I know I'll get a little NIL at my first stop, but I need to go out here and produce so I get that look and get to that second bag in NIL. The chase is different now, man. It's different. It's different. It's different. So Notre Dame, more than anything, has to shape up the development side of that wide receiver room. Because it's real nice to sit up here and say, you know, man, you're not attracting big-time receivers, man, and they can't see big-time production. Receivers look at numbers. Lady, let's keep it real. You can sit up here and say, well, you can't look at numbers. Every receiver looks at numbers. There's not one top-notch receiver that's not worried about his numbers. Not one. Not one of them. All of them look at their numbers. Shout out to Jamar Chase, who's about to win the Triple Crown for wide receivers this year, too. That's absolutely incredible. That's absolutely incredible. So, yes, I get jealous when I watch Jeremiah Smith just for once, because I remember having Michael Floyd. And then I remember having Michael Floyd and Golden Tate at the same time, at the absolute same time. But to be honest, they came at a time where this program really wasn't a D-line, O-line centric program. It was literally with the quarterbacks they had and the wide receivers they were getting and the head coach they had, they were trying to throw the rock. And that's why things changed. That's why things changed. So I'm not too sure, just a thought. It's not a right. It's not a wrong. I will say the chase of what Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman are chasing in terms of winning a national championship. They just saw Michigan win the championship the exact same way that they're trying to win it. The exact same way. The chase is different. There is no big King Kong on the top of the mountain. There is no Nick Saban in Alabama. If you want to equate Kirby and Georgia to that right now, that's fine. That's fine. That's fair. That's fair. I don't know if Kirby and Georgia are as nearly as big as Alabama was 10 years ago. I don't think they've gotten to that point. However, I definitely think that the chase has changed. Let's go with Al Golden first. He's pleased with what he saw Friday night.
I think obviously we played complementary football in all three phases there. The offense held the ball and had some drives and scored. We changed the field on special teams, and then obviously we were able to do our part there, which was huge. The Watts interception was great because it just nullified that, and obviously we went down and turned the field there shortly after. So that was great.
How did this game show how important Xavier Watts is to everything you guys do?
Well, he's just a competitor. He just has a great look no matter what the situation is. He just attacked, executed, and finished no matter what. So just really proud of the guys. They just played really well together and really executed at a high level.
Front row on your right, Pete Sampson.
Al, even though you didn't have the Howard-Rylie combination for the full game, when you did have them in there, just how impactful was it to have that back, that sort of focus?
Yeah, we needed that. That meant a lot. Obviously, it meant a lot to the run game, and then we were getting off the field on third down, which was terrific. So, there was a long stretch there, where those guys that we were in control. They got some plays, but it felt like the guys had a good grasp of what we were trying to get done and executing at a high level, and it started with those two inside.
Yeah. Hearing Al Golden say that everything started with those guys on the inside further magnifies the loss of Rylie Mills. It just magnifies the loss of Rylie Mills, man. And it's not about spilled milk and crying over it. It is what it is. It's football. The nature of football is next man up. The nature of this program that Marcus Freeman has developed is 1A, 1B. But we're not about to sit here and act like Rylie Mills hasn't been playing out of his mind. He has been playing out of his mind. Out of his mind. And he's going to continue to do so on the next level. I really think Rylie Mills has a chance, like Maris, to be a better pro in totality than he possibly was as a college player at Notre Dame. I really do. Al Golden, listen to this perspective, ladies and gents, because the perspective coming off that USC game, especially for a lot of fans and national media people, were, look at what USC did to that Notre Dame defense. It really was 28 points. Notre Dame, that last series as the clock was running down, they didn't tackle. They just allowed runs, and they gave up 28 points in real time. Serious time against USC. But a lot of people were buzzing. looking at Indiana's offense saying, man, Indiana has skilled players. They have a quarterback. Can they do the same thing USC did? And Al Golden took some ownership and said, no, I really wasn't worried about that. I wasn't worried about our performance coming out of USC. Listen to what he had to say.
With that,
yeah, I didn't
we are.
Like I said, I didn't really worry about it too much. That was a tall task, to go from Army defense to SC and then face those wide receivers. And I didn't do a good enough job in the transition, and I didn't do a good enough job calling the game for those guys and giving them some different looks. And those guys execute a lot of different looks today, and that helped us.
Front row on your left, Tyler Horka.
We know you're a 60-minute type of guy. Every yard matters. What happened there at the end? How much do you take away from that?
No, we had the game in control the whole game, so I'm not worried about the end of the game. There's things that we can learn from it. Obviously, we got to finish better, and I got to make some calls there. But at that point, I just didn't think. Continuing to show elaborate pressures in that situation was to our benefit, to be quite honest with you. So, I could have called a better game at the end there for the guys and helped them out.
Marcus was in here talking about controlling the perimeter. How well do you feel like you guys did that tonight? It looked like the team speed getting out there.
Yeah, they did a good job. I mean, just the couple plays, like the tunnel screen. Rod Hurd, his play in the tunnel screen, it was Rod, Gabe, Rubio coming from inside, and then Adon. That was tremendous. The reverse, a lot of the bubbles and things of that nature early in the game. So that was a big part of the game. We needed to do that. Obviously, we didn't get to +2, I don't think, but, we did get off the field on third down quite a bit, which helped.
Yeah, third down was huge. Indiana came into the game converted on 49% of their third downs. One of the best teams. They came into the league being one of the most efficient passing teams, specifically at the back shoulder throws and throws down the field over 15 yards. Notre Dame shut that down. They flat out shut that down. Al Golden schematically, gave looks that dared Indiana to run the ball. Go ahead and run the ball. They broke off 2 runs, ended up running the ball for, I think, 59 yards, averaging 2.3 on the entire night. Just a masterclass of making someone play with their best, against their best things that they want to do. And then when they go to their best things, they're forcing it, trying to make something happen. And that's what Indiana did. The interception that ended up turning the game with Xavier Watts picking them off in the red zone was Curtis Rourke forcing the ball, trying to make something happen that wasn't there, because that's something that they were used to getting. Howard Griffith said that perfectly in the postgame on the Big Ten Network. The things that Indiana were used to getting all year, or used to doing, and used to dictating to other teams, they couldn't do it. And then they tried to force it. And that's where the mistakes came up all night long, and Notre Dame capitalized. So, and I thought it was very important to hear Al Golden say, that's my fault. Because that's hard to go from Army to USC in a short amount of time and preparation. And I didn't get my guys ready. And I didn't call the best game for them. It takes a lot of guts for Al Golden to admit that and then go ahead and say, you know what? We corrected it, though. We took that film and we made the corrections we needed to make to be ready for Indiana. On top of the fact that Indiana didn't have the same speed at receiver and playmakers, in my opinion. Some people think they did. I don't think they did. That's just my opinion. Lucky Lefty podcast. Some more Al Golden talking about that D-line.
Mike knows how I feel about him. I think he's an incredible asset. I think our whole operation here changed when he walked in the door. Just his experience, his wisdom, the way he runs it. The way he runs it, the way he calls it. So I think all of that, obviously, it makes you better. It makes everybody around you better. And as I said, we're not sitting here right now. Again, I'm sure Mike will talk about the other side and their superlatives, but the superlatives we were facing coming into the game was 44 points a game and 440 yards, and we cut both of those markedly. And we can't do that by ourselves. We changed the field position on the opening kickoff. We get an interception, they go, they get a big run. So it takes the whole operation to win these games, and it's going to take that moving forward.
Front row on your left, Tyler James.
Al, Bryce Young's continued development, how much has that helped to have his presence on the edge, especially in the pass rush?
Yeah, we've been banged up a little bit on the D-line, which is unfortunate. But the silver lining there is it's forced guys into roles, and they've responded. Bryce is no different. He's the next guy in this evolution. I thought he played really well today. Obviously, getting the sack there in the backed up situation led to points. So I think that he's just doing a really good job of just doing what he needs to do every day to get better.
And then as the defensive coordinator, to have a home crowd behind you in a playoff game,
awesome.
What did that mean?
They were just awesome. Like? I mean, you can't say enough. I mean, they were just awesome. You could feel it, the energy, and execution fuels emotion, So if you're, the first third down and the place is going wild and you get off the field, big, huge. The next time you get an interception, then you're off the field again on third down. So, execution fuels emotion, but they were just awesome. I thought the stadium was awesome. What a great environment. Just really, really great environment. Great to be a part of that.
I agree, Coach. I absolutely agree. The environment was spectacular. You could feel it through the TV, and there's really nothing else to say about that. The defensive effort. I'm going to step out on a limb. I think you're going to get another fantastic game plan from Al Golden, and I think, especially early on, the energy that Notre Dame is going to come out with against Georgia is going to be absolutely fantastic. If Georgia thinks just because Rylie Mills is not there, they can just line up and run the ball straight ahead, I think they will be sadly mistaken, especially early. And the return of Kingston cannot be underappreciated. That's a huge return, especially in pass rushing situations. If you can come with him and Bryce Young off the edge and that speed from those youngsters, and we saw Bryce Young do his thing, then, it is what it is. Lucky Lefty Podcast. Let's hear from Mike Denbrock. Mike Denbrock talked about what was your approach to the game offensively, Coach?
Yeah, I mean, I think coming in, they were a defensive unit, obviously, that had done an incredible job all season stopping the run. Their scheme in some ways, at least from our film study, was predicated off where you put the back in relation to the tight ends and where you move the tight ends and how you shift around and different things. So we were trying to throw them off the scent a little bit by being a little bit more in pistol and not having a real clear answer to what side we were running the ball to or what type of scheme we were going to use. We used pretty multiple schemes out of the pistol as well as out of the shotgun. So I thought it gave us an opportunity to be a little more versatile, maybe take some of their stunning and movement out of the game, which it didn't. That was a miscalculation, obviously, because they continued to do it anyway. But, proud of the kids on offense and proud of finding a way and, making enough and doing enough with, obviously, the support of an unbelievable defensive unit that had our backs all day.
All year you've been trained. You've talked about how explosive Jordan Faison is. Got him a little bit more involved tonight, or at least Rylie did. Was that part of the plan?
Definitely. I mean, he's a guy for us offensively that's got to touch the football. And, I called the same play a couple different times, hoping they would get into the coverage that they ended up when we made the explosive pass down the field. And, I was right on some of them and wrong on some of them. And I thought their defensive coordinator did a really nice job of trying to keep me off balance. And they're a talented defense. And as I said, really, really proud of the way our guys hung in there and battled and just believed. And the result was obviously what we were all after.
Yeah. Shout out to coach, the approach, the stubbornness going up against that great rush defense by the numbers. And you know, Indiana they played hard. They played hard. But I remember saying before the game, it's fine to sit here and be a great rush defense, but you're going to have to line up and stop this rush offense for 60 minutes and 4 quarters. I don't see it. I don't see it. And it was exactly what Kurt Signetti said. It's a difference playing Big Ten teams. I'll give you a great example. Khalil Mullins. If Khalil Mullins is the running back coming off the 2-yard line on that outside zone and breaks free, he probably has a 15 to 20-yard run. Indiana gets an opportunity to go back to the hub. Unfortunately, number 4 is different to the house. That's the difference. All year long, Indiana's rush defense, when they made a mistake, it was a 15-yard run, a 17-yard run. They made mistakes against Notre Dame. It was an Aeneas Williams 10-yard run. It was an Aeneas Williams, a perfect example. They throw a screen. If you guys remember the series that led to the eventual 49-yard field goal by Mitch Jeter, it was, I think, 20 seconds left. Notre Dame comes out. They call timeout. They come out of the timeout, and they throw a screen to Aeneas Williams to the right. Indiana reads it. They read it. I think it was Aiden Fisher. Reads it perfectly. He's one-on-one in the flat with a chance to make a play and push Notre Dame back with a 2 to 3 yard loss, which would have made it a 52-yard field goal at the time. Aeneas Williams jukes him out of his shoes, gets to the outside, and turns it into a 4-yard gain. And now it's a 49-yard field goal instead of being like a 55, 56-yard field goal. That's the difference. Indiana made those plays all year in the Big Ten. They made those plays. Unfortunately, 4, 24, and 20 are different. They're just different. They're just different. And Indiana find out. Notre Dame had to pop out and show them. They found out. They messed around and found out. Not like us. That's just the case. So, it's something to really look at. Something to really look at. Even when you look at this Georgia matchup. There are multiple defenses, the way they like to play around up front. Can they stop the big plays? Notre Dame's not about to line up and just run it down Georgia's throat for 4 quarters. Because people haven't been able to do it for 2 quarters, 2.5 quarters. And then something happens. Georgia goes to that championship well that they can pull from. Kirby comes up with something. And all of a sudden, they force you to go to your second, third option. Can you do it? Can you do it? So, Mike Denbrock talked about Rylie Leonard, the passing game, the improvement. Let me tell you something. I tip my cap to Rylie Leonard. Not for the numbers, just the operation. The touchdown throw to Faison. Using the pocket, moving up in the pocket. Standing tall, taking the hit from Carpenter and delivering a strike. That's growth. Not getting caught and learning to use the checkdowns. Whether it's the tight end, your third wide receiver, or the running back out of the backfield that got yardage, that extended drives, that kept the chains moving. Huge things he did. He said it was, you'll hear from him. We'll probably talk about the players tomorrow. But Rylie Leonard said in the postgame, this is my best week of passing the ball in practice. And it definitely showed. Not only in his accuracy, but just the way he went through his progressions and the confidence he played with. I want him to continue to grow as they go into this matchup in the quarterfinals. But Mike Denbrock talked about that.
Their coverage scheme, they force you to be patient. And I thought, we tried to really program in the prep time that we had, the idea that we were going to have to use the backs and the tight ends and drop the ball down and take, what they're allowing us to have. And then when it does present itself, we got to be able to hit some shots down the field. And fortunately for us, the game really kind of played out that way.
Coach Freeman was talking about kind of getting to like a scratch and claw game besides the long one Jeremiah had on the offensive line and the run game. It feels like it's been a while since you were in a game like that. Like, how did you feel like the run game responded?
Well, I mean, I thought we had our moments, and I thought they had their moments. And, that's indicative of a very well-coached defense and some guys that are veteran in the scheme that they run. And so they're able to be really, really multiple. I thought they won some battles, but thank the good Lord we won a few of ours as well.
Last question opportunity for you, Coach. Front row on your right, John Brace.
Hey, Mike, one of those battles that you won was that early one with Jeremiah, and the line really opened some big holes right there, especially I think Anthony Knapp kicked his guy out. Just how important was it to send that kind of physical message early on?
I mean, you're backed up on your, 1.5 yard line, and, you call something that you hope is protected on the edges and the guys understand and do a nice job of executing. And here comes number 4. Anthony Knapp did an unbelievable job. I thought the tight ends did a nice job of wiping out the front side of it. We did a good job of building the wall on the backside, which is something we spent a lot of time working on over the course of the last 2 weeks. And if you give this guy an inch, he's going to take a mile, and God bless him for doing so.
Yeah, Coach, I agree. I think goes back to what Al Golden said. And I think it's true on the inverse of it is very true. The moment Mike Denbrock walked in the building, the operation changed. That's very telling from Al Golden. Because Al Golden has had to go up against the minds of Tommy Rees. He's had, lesser minds, lesser experience. Really wasn't pushed. Mike Denbrock changed everything. He talked about the conversations in fall camp that he had with Mike Denbrock as they went over to Coach Freeman's house to talk about practices, talk about scrimmages, and just how Mike Denbrock challenged him and opened his mind to certain things. Al Golden has seen everything from the NFL to head coach in college football. He's seen it all. And for him to give those flowers to Mike Denbrock tells you how valuable Mike Denbrock has been. I think Mike Denbrock, I'm going to be honest with you, man. This staff expected to beat Indiana. I think they watched film and said, yo, if we do what we need to do, we're going to win this game. We're the better team. And as I said before, someone asked me or posed a question or left a comment last week talking about focusing on Indiana. I'm like, advanced scouting has already started for Georgia. Like, don't get it twisted. This staff was scouting and getting ready for Georgia because they expected to face Georgia. Had nothing to do with disrespecting Indiana. That was the expectation. We're going to go out here and handle business, and then we're going to get ready for Georgia down in the Sugar Bowl. By the way, shout out to the presentation, the post game. CFP committee, fantastic for the Sugar Bowl to be there and for Notre Dame to get the opportunity to accept the invitation. That was classy. I love the way they did that. Shout out to the College Football Playoff Committee and the Sugar Bowl Committee. That was very classy to be there on Friday night. But I want to get back to this. Like, man, they've been prepping for Georgia. They expected to play Georgia. It's not a shock to this program. They're not shocked that they're in the college football playoff. They expected to be in the playoff. They didn't expect to lose to Northern Illinois. They didn't expect to have all of these injuries and other challenges. But that's life, man. All of us can relate to that. That's a lot of things. Life gives us things that we did not expect. Had no clue that we would have to be dealing with that ever. But let me tell you something. By the grace and mercy of God, all of us are still here. All of us still have an opportunity to attain to the dreams and the things that we want in life. And even with the sad news of Rylie Mills being out for the year, Notre Dame still has a shot. They still have the opportunity on January 1st to change the narrative surrounding this program and go get a hell of a big win against Georgia. It's right there for the taking. The opportunity is still the same. Nothing has changed. They're going to have to go through a little bit of a storm. They're going to have to deal with some things, but the opportunity is still right there in front of them for the players and Marcus Freeman and this coaching staff. It's right there. It's right there, and it's there for the taking. It's absolutely there for the taking. And one of the biggest advantages, in my opinion, which has been one of the struggles, especially with the secondary. Somebody in the chat talked about the secondary of Georgia being a weakness. Guess why? Because that head coach that has Syracuse on fire in the portal and turned that program around, Fran Brown, big missing piece. Huge missing piece. That's why you see a lot of Georgia defensive backs in the transfer portal. Again, it's a huge missing piece on their defensive staff with Fran Brown being the head coach of Syracuse. So from a coaching standpoint, Kirby is an advantage. I'm gonna keep it a buck. I love Marcus Freeman, but Kirby Smart is an advantage. Having him as your head coach is an advantage, but Marcus Freeman is a darn good head coach. But the two coordinators, that could indeed be Notre Dame's advantage going into this matchup. Mike Denbrock and Al Golden, yes, sir. That could be the advantage that gives Notre Dame the ultimate nod and the lead as the clock hits 0 in the Sugar Bowl. Hopefully it goes that way. Lucky Lefty Podcast. So, guys, thank you. Left had to jump out, take care of some business. I'm going to end this show. Hopefully we can come back tonight and hear from the players and then play some clips, let you hear some audio and watch some video from Marcus Freeman's press conference today, where he focused more on moving forward, focused more on Georgia. And he talked about the culture a lot. He talked about being proud of the culture that has developed in Notre Dame. And I'm right here for it, man, because I love what's being developed at Notre Dame. Hope you guys enjoyed. Join us this evening. We'll post it at Lucky Lefty Pod, TikTok, X, Twitter, Instagram, Lucky Lefty Network on YouTube. Subscribe, share, hit that like button. We greatly appreciate your comments and questions because we respond to all. Patreon.com/Lucky Lefty Network. Go subscribe today. Just $5. Gift it to someone. Stocking stuffer. Great content. I'm starting my own show, my own solo show that's going to be coming up in the off season, talking recruiting and talking some other things in sports, not just college football, but just sports at large. And then we're going to have some other things coming up. We're continuing to build out the content over at Patreon. So go lock in right now, because once we grow it out, I might have to take the price up. So get in on the ground floor, patreon.com/Lucky Lefty Network. And then audio edibles each and every day, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, CFB Nation. Lock in with us. We greatly appreciate you guys. So for Left, SD2 mics, hopefully we see you guys this evening where we can talk about the players and then we can talk about what everyone else had to say as far as my bad. Just getting something straight. So we appreciate you guys, and we'll get back to you guys this weekend about tonight's show. Have a great day. Be safe out there. If you're traveling mercies so that you arrive at your destinations and enjoy the holiday and enjoy your families, man. Go Irish as always. Continue to spin it different.